The ivory envelope felt heavy in my trembling hands, its contents burning through my skin like acid. 10 years of marriage, and this is what it had come to. Love letters from my husband to someone else, discovered in the false bottom of his antique desk drawer while searching for our anniversary photos. My name is Hannah, and I was about to throw a 10th wedding anniversary party that would go down in family history, just not for the reasons anyone expected. "Darling, have you seen my cufflinks?" Ethan called from upstairs, his voice carrying the casual tone of a man whose world wasn't about to implode. "Check your dresser," I replied, forcing steadiness into my voice while quickly sliding the letters into my purse. The catering staff bustled around me, setting up for tonight's celebration at our suburban home. The doorbell chimed, and I knew exactly who it was. My mother-in-law, Lacey, arriving early as always to help. She swept in without waiting for an invitation, her designer perfume announcing her presence before her voice did. "Hannah, dear, the flower arrangements are all wrong. I specifically told you roses, not lilies." She clicked her tongue, adjusting her pearl necklace. "I chose lilies because they're my favorite," I replied, straightening my spine. "It is my anniversary party, after all." Lacey's perfectly lined lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. "Oh, sweetie, still so provincial after all these years. When will you learn that presentation matters in this family?" Before I could respond, Ethan appeared, looking devastatingly handsome in his tailored suit. He kissed his mother's cheek, then mine, and I fought the urge to wipe my lips. "Everything looks perfect," he said, oblivious to the tension. "I need to make a quick call before guests arrive." As he stepped away, Lacey's mask slipped. She gripped my arm, manicured nails digging in slightly. "I know what you're planning." My heart stopped. "Excuse me?" "The divorce papers in your study. My lawyer, Rowan, saw them being drafted." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" I pulled away, blood rushing in my ears. "You've been spying on me." "Protecting my son," she corrected. "I've spent 10 years watching you try to drag him down to your level. Did you think I'd let you destroy everything I've built? Everything you've built?" I laughed, the sound brittle. "You mean everything you've manipulated?" "Call it what you want." She adjusted her expensive jacket. "But remember this, I made Ethan who he is, and I can unmake you just as easily. I've done it before." The first guests were arriving, their voices drifting in from the foyer. Lacey's face transformed, social smile perfectly in place. "Shall we greet our guests, dear?" The next hour passed in a blur of faces and forced smiles. I watched Ethan work the room, charming everyone as usual while I clutched my purse containing both sets of damning papers, the love letters and the divorce documents. Clara, an elegant woman I'd only met twice at charity functions, approached me by the bar. "Quite the gathering," she said, studying me intently. "Though anniversary parties can be such revealing affairs, don't you think?" Something in her tone made me look closer. She glanced meaningfully at Lacey, who was holding court across the room. "Your mother-in-law certainly knows how to command attention." "She's had plenty of practice," I replied carefully. Clara sipped her champagne. "You know, I lost everything because of her once. My home, my reputation." She placed her card in my hand. "If you ever want to hear that story, call me." Before I could respond, Ethan clinked his glass for attention. "I'd like to make a toast to my beautiful wife." I stood there, watching him lie through his perfect teeth about love and devotion, while Lacey beamed proudly at her son. The letters burned in my purse and Clara's card burned in my palm. 10 years of trying to be good enough, of swallowing Lacey's subtle jabs, of ignoring the late-night calls and unexplained absences. Something snapped inside me. I stepped forward, champagne glass in hand. "I'd like to make a toast to." Lacey's eyes narrowed. Ethan's smile faltered slightly. "To truth," I said, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. "And to karma. Because sometimes—" I locked eyes with Lacey. What goes around, comes around. I set down my untouched champagne and walked out of the room, leaving stunned silence in my wake. As I climbed the stairs to pack my bags, I heard Lacey's voice carrying up behind me. She's always been unstable, poor thing. I pulled out my phone and Clara's card, my hands steady for the first time all day. Enough playing nice, enough being the perfect wife. It was time to show them exactly what this unstable, poor thing could do. Let them eat their anniversary cake. I had bigger plans to serve up. I met Clara at a quiet cafe 3 days after the anniversary disaster. My hands wrapped around a steaming latte as she settled into the chair across from me, her elegant posture a stark contrast to my exhausted slump. "You look like you've been through hell," she said, skipping pleasantries. "Left my husband, moved into a hotel, and ignored 47 calls from Lacey." I managed a weak smile. "So yeah, pretty much hell." Clara's eyes softened. "Did he admit to the affair?" "Didn't have to. When I showed him the letters, he just..." I swallowed hard. "He said I drove him to it, that I wasn't sophisticated enough for his world. Guess who's been saying that for years?" "Lacey." Clara's mouth tightened. "That woman has a way of destroying lives while keeping her hands clean. Want to hear my story?" I nodded, and Clara leaned forward. 7 years ago, I owned a successful real estate agency. Lacey approached me about selling her late friend's estate. Said the friend had no family, that she was the executor. Clara's fingers drummed against her coffee cup. It was a lie. "What happened?" "The late friend wasn't dead. She was in a temporary coma. Lacey forged documents, rushed the sale through. By the time the woman recovered, her historic mansion had been sold for half its value to one of Lacey's shell companies. She flipped it for millions." My stomach churned. "Couldn't you fight it? Lacey had already spread rumors about my drinking problem, a problem I never had. Said I was negligent, sloppy with paperwork. Nobody would touch me after that. I lost my license, my reputation." Clara's voice hardened. Everything I'd built over 20 years. The cafe door chimed and we both tensed as Vivian, Ethan's sister, walked in. She spotted us immediately. "Hannah." She approached our table, uncertainty in her steps. "Mum's been trying to reach you." "I'm sure she has." I straightened in my chair. Vivian glanced at Clara, then back to me. "Look, what happened at the party? Mum says you're having some kind of breakdown. Is that what she's saying?" I pulled out my phone, opened my photos. "Want to see what your brother's been up to? Or should I start with the evidence of your mother's real estate fraud?" Vivian's face paled. "What are you talking about? Ask Clara here about the Williams estate, or better yet, ask your mother about Desmond." "Desmond?" Vivian's voice cracked. "Mom's lawyer's assistant?" "Your brother's lover," I corrected quietly, "for the past 8 months." Vivian sank into an empty chair, her designer bag sliding to the floor. That's not possible. Ethan wouldn't..." "The same way your mother wouldn't forge documents. The same way she wouldn't destroy someone's business over a property deal." Clara's voice was gentle but firm. "I need a drink," Vivian muttered. "It's 10 in the morning," I pointed out. "Then I need several drinks." She ran a shaking hand through her hair. "Mom always said you weren't good enough for Ethan, but God, I never questioned it. Never questioned anything she did." Clara pulled out a business card. "I have copies of everything. The forged documents, the property transfers, the shell companies. Your mother's very good, but she's not perfect." "Why are you showing me this?" Vivian asked. "Because you deserve to know the truth," I said. "And because we're going to need your help." "Help with what?" "Justice," Clara said simply. "Or revenge. Depends on how you look at it." My phone buzzed. Another call from Lacey. This time I answered and put it on speaker. "Hannah, this childish behavior needs to stop." Lacey's voice filled our corner of the cafe. "Come home, apologize to Ethan, and we can discuss your emotional issues." "Actually, Lacey, I think we should discuss the Williams estate instead. Or maybe Desmond. I'm having coffee with some interesting people who'd love to chat about both." Silence crackled over the line. When Lacey spoke again, her voice was ice. "You're playing a very dangerous game, dear." "No, I'm done playing games. Ask Rowan to check his email in about an hour. I think he'll find some fascinating reading material. I ended the call and looked at Vivian, whose face had hardened into something I'd never seen before. The Williams estate, she said slowly. That was Mrs. Williams, my godmother. Mom told everyone she died. She recovered, Clara confirmed, lost everything while she was unconscious. Vivian stood up, shoulders straight. I want in. Whatever you're planning, I want to help. It could get ugly, I warned. It's already ugly. Vivian picked up her bag. Mom needs to learn she can't keep destroying people's lives. As she left, Clara raised an eyebrow at me. Well, that was unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Good. Very good. Clara smiled, and for the first time I saw steel behind her elegance. Now, let's talk about what's in that email to Rowan. I pulled out my laptop, feeling more alive than I had in years. Let's start with the offshore accounts I found while cleaning out Ethan's desk. The law office lobby reeked of expensive leather and privilege. I sat across from Desmond, Ethan's not-so-secret lover, watching him fidget with his designer tie. I shouldn't be talking to you, he said, glancing nervously at the door. If Lacey finds out... Lacey already knows I'm here, I cut in. Just like she knows about you and Ethan. The question is, what else does she know? His face went pale. What do you mean? The offshore accounts, Desmond, the ones you've been helping her manage through the firm. Did you really think I wouldn't find the paperwork? Those accounts are legitimate, he protested weakly. I pulled out my phone, played the recording Clara had obtained. Lacey's voice filled the space between us. Make sure those transfers look clean. The Williams property money needs to disappear before anyone starts asking questions. Desmond's hands began to shake. Turn that off. There's more, I said, stopping the recording. Hours more. Clara's been very thorough. Clara Flores? His eyes widened. The realtor Lacey destroyed? The same. Turns out she's had years to gather evidence. She just needed the right motivation to use it. He stood abruptly, pacing the small meeting room. You don't understand. Lacey owns this firm. She owns half this city. One word from her and what? You'll lose everything. Like Clara did? Like I did? I leaned forward. Help us, Desmond. Or I'll make sure every dirty secret you've helped hide comes to light. Including your relationship with my husband, I added, watching him flinch. The door opened and Rowan, Lacey's personal lawyer, stepped in. His usual polished demeanour seemed frayed at the edges. This meeting is over, he announced. Desmond, you're needed upstairs. Actually, I stood, smoothing my skirt. Desmond was just about to tell me about the Cayman Islands accounts. Weren't you, Desmond? Rowan's face tightened. Mrs. Willis, you're treading on dangerous ground. No longer Mrs. Willis, I corrected. And the only dangerous ground here is the quicksand you're all standing on. How many other estates has Lacey stolen? How many lives has she ruined while you helped cover her tracks? These are serious accusations, Rowan said carefully. They're not accusations. I pulled out a USB drive. They're facts. Every transaction, every forged document, every accidental death or convenient coma. Clara kept receipts. Desmond sank back into his chair. She'll destroy us all. She already has, I replied. The question is, are you going to help us stop her or go down with her? My phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. Mom's on her way. She knows. Perfect timing. Think fast, gentlemen, I said, gathering my things. Lacey will be here in about 10 minutes. When she asks what we discussed, what will you tell her? Rowan's professional mask cracked slightly. What do you want? Everything. The truth about the Williams estate, the real estate scams, the affairs she arranged to break up marriages that stood in her way. I met his eyes, including mine. She orchestrated... Desmond's voice trailed off. Your relationship with Ethan? Of course she did. Needed someone controllable, someone who'd help hide her paper trail. 2 birds, 1 stone. The elevator dinged in the distance. Desmond stood quickly. I'll help, but I need protection. Done, I said. Clara's lawyer is expecting your call. Rowan stepped forward. You can't possibly think. Check your email, I cut him off. I sent you a preview of what goes public next week. Choose your side carefully, Rowan. I walked out just as Lacey stepped off the elevator, her face thunderous. She grabbed my arm as I passed. Whatever you think you're doing, she hissed, remember who you're dealing with. I pulled free, smiling. Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Say hello to Mrs. Williams for me. You know, your dead friend. She's having tea with Clara right now. Fascinating conversation. The colour drained from Lacey's face. Behind her, I saw Desmond slip into the stairwell, phone already at his ear. You're bluffing, Lacey said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Check the visitor's log at Cedar Grove Rehabilitation Centre. Mrs. Williams has had quite a few visitors lately. She's remembering all sorts of interesting things. I stepped into the elevator, held her gaze as the doors closed. Better hurry, Lacey. Your house of cards is starting to shake. My phone buzzed again. Clara this time. Desmond's lawyer just called. He's ready to talk. I smiled, remembering Lacey's words from my anniversary party. Everything she'd built was about to come crashing down, and this time she wouldn't be able to blame anyone else. The game was changing, and Lacey was finally learning what it felt like to be the prey instead of the predator. The Willis family's weekly Sunday dinner had always been Lacey's stage. Tonight, I was crashing her performance. You can't just walk in here, Ethan protested as I entered the dining room, Clara and Vivian flanking me. Actually, I can. I placed a thick folder on the mahogany table. Family dinner seems like the perfect time to discuss family business. Lacey sat at the head of the table, her face a mask of controlled fury. If this is another one of your desperate attempts, Mrs. Williams sends her regards, Clara interrupted smoothly, taking a seat. She's quite lucid now, remembers everything about the estate sale. The expensive china rattled as Lacey's hand jerked. Vivian, why are you participating in this ambush? Because it's time for the truth, Mom. Vivian's voice shook but held firm. All of it. I opened the folder, started laying out documents. Let's begin with the offshore accounts. Desmond was very helpful in explaining how they work. Ethan's face went white. You talked to Desmond? He sang like a bird, I confirmed. Seems he didn't appreciate being used as your mother's pawn. Or yours. That's enough, Lacey stood, but Clara pulled out her phone. Shall I play the recordings? Or should we start with the photos of you meeting with the doctor who conveniently declared Mrs. Williams unfit to manage her affairs? The room fell silent. Ethan stared at his mother. What is she talking about? Your mother arranged everything, I said quietly. The estate fraud, the affairs, all of it. She needed someone inside Rowan's firm to handle the paperwork. You and Desmond were just convenient tools. That's ridiculous, Ethan scoffed, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Vivian pulled out her own phone. Remember my friend Sarah? Her marriage fell apart last year. She pressed play, and Lacey's voice filled the room. Make sure Thomas sees them together at the club. His wife's family connections are becoming inconvenient. Lacey sank back into her chair. You've all lost your minds. No. We've finally found them. I spread more documents across the table. 3 estates in the last decade. All sold under suspicious circumstances, all profiting your shell companies. And all involving convenient medical emergencies, Clara added, like my so-called drinking problem. Amazing how many lives you've destroyed to build your empire, Lacey. Ethan grabbed one of the papers, his hands trembling. These signatures, this is Desmond's writing. Your mother's been playing puppet master for years, I said. She orchestrated our marriage, my downfall, your affair, all to keep control of her precious empire. You're lying, he whispered, but his eyes were fixed on the evidence. Ask her, Vivian challenged. Ask her about Mrs. Williams, about Sarah's divorce, about all of it. Lacey's composure finally cracked. Everything I did was for this family. The admission hung in the air like poison. So it's true, Ethan breathed. All of it? You ungrateful children, Lacey spat. I built this life for you. Everything you have is because of me. Everything we have is stolen, Vivian shot back, built on destroyed lives and forged documents. I pulled out one final paper. This is going to the district attorney tomorrow morning. Desmond's full confession, with Rowan's supporting testimony. Rowan would never, Lacey started. Rowan's saving himself, Clara interrupted. Just like Desmond, just like everyone else you've used and discarded. Ethan stood suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. I need air. He walked out, leaving his mother calling after him. You've ruined everything, Lacey hissed at me. No, I corrected her. You did that yourself. I'm just exposing the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is you were never good enough for this family, for my son. The truth, Vivian cut in, is that you're going to lose everything, Mom. Your reputation, your power, maybe even your freedom. Unless, I added, pulling out another document, you sign this confession. Take responsibility. Make amends to the people you've hurt. And why would I do that? Because it's your only chance to stay out of prison, Clara said simply. Mrs. Williams is pressing charges. So am I. How many other victims do you think will come forward? Lacey stared at the confession, her empire crumbling around her. Get out, all of you. Think carefully, Lacey, I said, standing. You have until morning to decide. After that, everything goes public. We left her there, surrounded by the evidence of her crimes. In the driveway, Ethan was sitting in his car, head in his hands. He'll need time, Vivian said softly. We all will, I replied, watching the man I'd loved become a stranger in the wake of truth. But at least now we can heal without her poison. Clara squeezed my arm. Ready for phase 2? I nodded, thinking of all the other lives Lacey had destroyed. Time to let the skeletons out of her closet, all of them. Behind us, through the dining room window, Lacey sat alone with her lies, finally facing the consequences of her actions. The puppet master's strings were unraveling, one truth at a time. The media storm hit like a hurricane. I watched from Clara's living room as the morning news anchor detailed Lacey's decades of fraud and manipulation. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the story broke. Turn it up, Clara called from the kitchen, where she was stress-baking cookies. Multiple victims coming forward, the anchor was saying. The scandal has rocked the city's elite social circles, with prominent lawyer Rowan confirming his cooperation with authorities. The doorbell rang. Vivian burst in without waiting for an answer, waving her phone. Mum's gone. What do you mean, gone? I stood up, packed her bags and disappeared. Rowan just called. She emptied her primary accounts yesterday. Clara appeared, dusted in flour. She won't get far. The FBI froze her offshore accounts this morning. My phone lit up with Ethan's name. After 5 days of silence, he was finally calling. I answered on speaker. Hannah? His voice sounded rough. Have you seen the news? I'm watching it right now. Where are you? Outside your hotel, but they said you checked out. I'm at Clara's, I said. Your sister's here too. A long pause. Can I come over? Please, I need to talk to you. To all of you. I looked at Clara, who nodded. Text me the address, I told him. 20 minutes later, Ethan sat on Clara's couch, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The news continued to play silently in the background. I found more documents, he said, pulling papers from his briefcase. In Mom's study, she had files on everyone she'd ever targeted. Vivian took the files, started spreading them out on the coffee table. Oh God, Sarah's divorce, the Thompson bankruptcy, even Dad's accident. What about your father? Clara asked sharply. Ethan's hands were shaking. It wasn't an accident. The brake lines, she had them cut. Dad was going to expose her first real estate scam. She killed him. The room went silent except for Vivian's quiet sob. I've already called the police, Ethan continued. Gave them copies of everything. They're looking for her now. I sat beside him, not touching but close. Why did you finally decide to look? Because of what you said about Desmond, about being used. He looked at me, eyes red. I found letters. She'd been grooming him for months before introducing us. She knew exactly what she was doing. She always did, Clara said quietly. My phone buzzed, a news alert. I read it aloud. Breaking, prominent socialite Lacey Willis spotted at private airfield. Sources say she attempted to charter flight to non-extradition country. They got her, Vivian whispered. Ethan stood abruptly, pacing. All those people she hurt, all those lives she destroyed, and I helped her. I was so blind. We all were, Vivian said. She raised us to be blind. Clara's phone rang. She answered, listened, then smiled grimly. That was Mrs. Williams' lawyer. They're filing a class action lawsuit. Everyone who lost property, businesses, relationships, they're all joining in. Good, I said firmly. Let them take everything. Hannah, Ethan turned to me. I know I have no right to ask, but can we talk? Privately? Clara and Vivian exchanged looks. We'll get more coffee, Clara said, leading Vivian to the kitchen. Once alone, Ethan sat again. I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry for everything. I know. No, you don't understand. I knew, not everything, but enough. I knew something was wrong, but I chose not to see it, chose to believe her lies about you instead. Why are you telling me this now? Because I love you, he said simply. I never stopped, but I was too weak to stand up to her, too comfortable in her web of lies. Love isn't enough, Ethan. Trust is everything, and you broke that long before your mother's crimes came to light. He nodded, tears falling. I know, I needed you to know the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make me look worse. My phone buzzed again. Another news alert. This time there was a photo of Lacey in handcuffs, being led away by federal agents. Look, I showed him the screen. It's really over. No, he said quietly. It's just beginning. The investigations, the trials, the lawsuits. Mum's web caught a lot of people. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Clara and Vivian returned, carrying fresh coffee. So what now? Vivian asked, looking at the news photo. Now, Clara said, we make sure every single victim gets justice. No settlements, no deals, no hiding the truth. I looked at Ethan, saw the weight of revelation crushing him. Are you ready for that? To testify against your own mother? He straightened his shoulders, looking more like the man I'd first fallen in love with than he had in years. Yes, it's time to make things right. The news anchor's voice caught our attention. More victims coming forward by the hour. Authorities expect this to be one of the largest fraud cases in the state's history. We watched in silence as Lacey's empire crumbled on live television, each of us carrying different wounds, but united in our search for justice. The truth was finally having its day in the sun, and no amount of money or manipulation could stop it now. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. 3 weeks had passed since Lacey's arrest, and today was her bail hearing. Clara met me at the security checkpoint, her usual elegance tempered by determination. Ready? She asked, handing me a coffee. As I'll ever be. I spotted Vivian near the courtroom doors, talking intensely with Desmond. How many victims showed up? 37 so far. Mrs. Williams is inside already. The bailiff called for order as we entered. Lacey sat at the defendant's table, somehow managing to make Prison Orange look designer. She didn't turn around, but I felt her awareness of our presence. All rise, the bailiff announced as the judge entered. What followed was a parade of testimonies that made my stomach churn. Sarah, Vivian's friend, described how Lacey orchestrated her divorce. 3 former business owners detailed their mysterious bankruptcies. Mrs. Williams, now in a wheelchair but sharp as ever, recounted waking from her coma to find her life's work stolen. Then came the bombshell. Your Honour, the prosecutor stood. We've received new evidence regarding the death of Robert Willis 12 years ago. Lacey's perfect posture finally cracked. Objection. Rowan was on his feet. This bail hearing isn't the place. The evidence suggests premeditated murder, the prosecutor continued, making the defendant a flight risk. The courtroom erupted. Ethan, sitting in the back, put his head in his hands. Vivian gripped my arm so hard it hurt. "Order!" The judge's gavel crashed down. Mr. Rowan approached the bench. As they conferred, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Back door. Now. Important." I showed Clara, who nodded. "Go. I'll text if anything happens." In the hallway, I found a young clerk fidgeting by the service entrance. "Are you Hannah?" "Yes." "What's this about?" He handed me a thumb drive. Ms. Willis had this in her cell. Tried to flush it when they moved her this morning. Tech team recovered the data. My hands shook as I took it. What's on it? Everything. Account numbers, blackmail material, recordings. She kept receipts of her own crimes. Back in the courtroom, I slipped the drive to the prosecutor's assistant. Within minutes, it reached the judge. "In light of new evidence," the judge announced, "bail is denied. The defendant will remain in custody." Lacey finally turned around, her eyes finding mine. The look she gave me wasn't hatred. It was something worse. Recognition. She saw herself in me, in what I'd done to bring her down. It chilled me to the bone. During the recess, Ethan found me in the corridor. "Hannah, wait!" "Not now," I started, but he grabbed my hand. "Hey, please. There's something you need to know." He looked haunted. "About Dad's accident. I found more proof in Mum's old emails. She made me the beneficiary of his life insurance 2 days before. She set you up as her alibi," I realized. I was 19, so proud to be handling the family business while Dad was gone. His voice cracked. "She used my signature, my account, made me an unwitting accomplice to my own father's murder." Before I could respond, Clara rushed up. "They're reconvening. You both need to see this." Back inside, the prosecutor was connecting a laptop to the courtroom's display system. "Your Honor, the contents of this drive prove conspiracy to commit murder, multiple counts of fraud, and an ongoing criminal enterprise spanning 15 years. The first document appeared on screen, a detailed plan for Robert Willis's accident, complete with payments to the mechanic who cut the brake lines. Lacey stood up suddenly. "I want to make a statement." "Ms. Willis," her lawyer warned, but she waved him off. "You all think you're so clever," she announced to the courtroom. "So righteous. But everything I did for my family. To build something lasting. Something powerful." "You built it on corpses," Vivian called out, her voice breaking. "I built it on weakness," Lacey corrected. "The weakness of people like her." She pointed at me. "People who trust, who believe in fairness and justice. The world isn't fair. I just played by its real rules." "The real rules?" Mrs. Williams wheeled forward. "The real rules say you're going to prison, Lacey, for a very long time." The judge gavelled for order, but Lacey wasn't finished. "You think this is over? You think you've won?" She laughed, a hollow sound. "I still have friends, powerful friends. This isn't the end." "No," I agreed, standing up. "It's not the end. It's just the beginning of your consequences." The bailiffs led her away, but her laughter echoed in the courtroom. Clara squeezed my shoulder. "Don't let her get to you. She's desperate." "Desperate people are dangerous," Ethan said quietly. Looking around the courtroom at all the lives Lacey had touched, destroyed, rebuilt, and destroyed again, I knew he was right. This victory felt hollow, unfinished, because somewhere in that laughter, in those final threats, was a promise. Lacey might be going down, but she was determined to drag as many people with her as she could, and something told me she had one last card to play. The call came at 3 a.m., 1 week after the bail hearing. Vivian's voice was frantic. "Turn on the news. Now." I fumbled for the remote and my TV flickered to life. The headline made my blood run cold. "Massive data leak exposes city's elite." "Lacey's insurance policy just went live," Vivian said. "Every dirty secret, every backroom deal, every corrupt official, it's all online." My doorbell rang. Clara stood outside, laptop under her arm, looking grimmer than I'd ever seen her. "We have a problem." She set up her computer on my kitchen table while Vivian arrived, still in her pajamas. The website was simple, a searchable database of documents, emails, and recordings. She had dirt on everyone, Clara explained, scrolling through names. Judges, politicians, business leaders, anyone who ever crossed her path. Look, Vivian pointed at the screen, Dad's old business partners, the ones who helped cover up his death. My phone buzzed. Ethan, have you seen it? The part about us? What part about us? I asked, but then Clara found it. There, in black and white, was every detail of how Lacey had orchestrated my marriage to Ethan. The carefully planned chance meetings, the manipulated circumstances, even payments to people who'd steered us together. She turned our entire relationship into a business transaction, I whispered. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Desmond, pale and shaking. She exposed everyone, every client, every deal, every secret. Including yours? Vivian asked gently. He nodded. Including the fact that she blackmailed me into seducing Ethan. She had photos of me. From before, when I was desperate for money. My phone kept buzzing. Journalists probably, wanting comments. The news showed crowds gathering outside the police station demanding arrests. This is her revenge, Clara said quietly. She's burning everything down. Ethan burst in, looking wild-eyed. The FBI's here. At my office. They're seizing everything. They're everywhere, Desmond confirmed. Half the city's under investigation. I opened my laptop, started reading through the leaked files. Wait, look at this. These offshore accounts, they're still active. Clara leaned in. That's impossible, they were frozen. These are different ones, Vivian said, reading over my shoulder. Registered under shell companies we didn't know about. My phone rang. Mrs. Williams. Hannah, you need to get to the prison, now. Lacey's asking for you. It's a trap, Clara warned. Of course it is, I agreed. But it might be our only chance to end this. The prison visiting room was cold and sterile. Lacey sat behind the glass, somehow still managing to look regal in her jumpsuit. I wondered who would come first, she said into the phone. The FBI? The prosecutors? But no, you. My greatest mistake. Why did you do it? I asked. Release everything? Because they needed to learn. Her smile was razor sharp. Everyone who thought they could betray me, who thought they were better than me, now they know. I own their secrets. I own them. You've destroyed lives. Again. I've exposed truth. Isn't that what you wanted? She leaned forward. But here's what you don't know. Those accounts you found, they're just the beginning. Every hour, more documents release automatically, more secrets, more destruction. How do we stop it? You can't. Unless what? Unless you convince the DA to cut a deal. Full immunity, witness protection, a new identity. I laughed bitterly. You really think that's going to happen? Look at your phone, she said. A new headline popped up. Mayor resigns amid corruption scandal. That's just the start, Lacey continued. Every hour, another powerful person falls. How long before they're desperate enough to deal? You're bluffing. Am I? Check the account numbers ending in 4479, the transfer dates, the signatures. I did, and felt my heart stop. That's right, she purred. Your name's on some very interesting documents. Forged, of course, but who'll believe that now? I stood up. You forgot something, Lacey. I've already lost everything once. I'm not afraid anymore. You should be. Her mask finally cracked, showing the desperation beneath. I'll destroy you all. No, I said quietly. You already tried that. Now it's our turn. I walked out, already dialing Clara. Get everyone together. Lacey just showed her hand. What are we going to do? She asked. I looked back through the glass, where Lacey sat alone with her crumbling schemes. We're going to do what she never expected. We're going to tell the truth. All of it. Our parts, our mistakes, everything. That's risky. Yes, I agreed, watching another news alert pop up. But it's the one thing she can't defend against. Real, messy, honest truth. The city was burning with secrets, but maybe that's what it needed. A cleansing fire to burn away all the lies. And we would light the match. The press conference room was packed. I stood at the podium surrounded by faces I'd come to know well. Clara, Vivian, Ethan, Desmond, Mrs. Williams, and dozens of Lacey's other victims. "My name is Hannah," I began, cameras flashing. "And I'm here to tell you the real story behind the data leak that's shaken our city." I detailed everything: my failed marriage, the manipulation, the discoveries. Others took turns sharing their stories. Mrs. Williams described her awakening in the hospital to find her life stolen. Clara recounted her professional destruction. Desmond admitted his role in the schemes, voice shaking but determined. Then Ethan stepped up. "My mother is a monster," he said simply, "but I was her willing puppet for years. I chose comfort over conscience. I hurt people, and especially my wife. Those aren't secrets anymore. They're confessions." As he spoke, my phone lit up with a message from the DA. "Lacey's server's located. Everything's being shut down." I smiled, thinking of Lacey watching this from her prison cell. We'd turned her weapon, truth, against her. The questions came rapid fire. What about the offshore accounts? Were you involved in the illegal transfers? Did you know about Robert Willis's murder? "Every document with my name was forged," I answered. "But here's what's real. I helped bring down Lacey's empire, not for revenge, but for justice. And I'm not done." I announced the formation of a victims advocacy group, with Clara as its head. Mrs. Williams pledged her recovered fortune to funding legal support for fraud victims. Vivienne revealed plans to convert the Willis estate into a support centre. "You can't hide from truth forever," I concluded. "Lacey taught us that, just not the way she intended." The DA approached as we left the podium. "We've frozen the last accounts. The automatic document releases are stopped." "And Lacey?" Clara asked. Refusing to speak, but with everyone coming forward, he shrugged. "She's facing life." Outside, Ethan caught my arm. "Hannah, wait. I have nothing left to say." "I know, He pulled out divorce papers. "I signed them. No contests, no claims. You deserve a clean break." I took them, feeling lighter. "Thank you. I loved you," he said quietly. That part wasn't a lie, just everything else. Sometimes love isn't enough. Vivian appeared, linking her arm through mine. "Ready? The support centre planning committee is waiting." I looked at Ethan one last time. He nodded, understanding. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. At the Willis estate, now empty of Lacey's poisonous influence, Clara was directing renovations. "The first victims support group meets next week," she announced. "We already have 40 people signed up." 50, Mrs. Williams corrected, wheeling in. The mayor's resignation sparked a new wave of fraud revelations. People need help navigating the aftermath. I wandered to Lacey's old study, now stripped of its expensive artwork. On the bare desk sat a single newspaper. "Willis Empire Falls, Victims Rise from Ashes." My phone buzzed. A prison call. "Proud of yourself?" Lacey's voice dripped venom. "Taking everything I built?" "No, Lacey. We're building something new, something real. With my money, my resources, with the truth. The one thing you never understood." I hung up as Desmond entered. "The FBI found more accounts," he said, "hidden deeper than the others." "Let them handle it," I replied. "We have more important work to do." He smiled tentatively. "The support centre. Could I volunteer? Try to make amends?" "Ask Clara. She's in charge of redemption stories around here." The setting sun painted the study golden. Where Lacey had plotted destruction, we were planning healing. Where she'd hidden secrets, we were creating transparency. Vivian found me there staring at the empty walls. "You okay?" "Just thinking about karma," I said. "How Lacey's weapons became our tools. Her victims became our strength. And her daughter became your sister," she added, hugging me. Clara called us downstairs. The renovation crew had uncovered something behind a wall, a hidden safe full of old photos. Robert Willis smiled up at us, surrounded by family and happier times. He would be proud, Vivian whispered, of what we're doing here. We all lost something to Lacey, I said, looking around at our unlikely family of survivors. But we found something stronger. Mrs. Williams wheeled over, took my hand. We found each other. And that's what really destroys empires. People standing together telling the truth. Outside, more victims were arriving for the evening support group. Each carried their own story of loss and betrayal, each ready to transform pain into purpose. I picked up the newspaper with Lacey's fall splashed across it. Her last attempt to burn down the world had only lit our way forward. Sometimes the truth hurts, but lies destroy. And from destruction, we were building something beautiful. Not an empire of secrets, but a foundation of hope. That was a revenge Lacey would never understand.